Hello there, friends. Today I'm going to be reading an article from a new book that I've received. It is Harvard Business Review's book on delegating work. It's written in a different style, and very annoyingly it doesn't have an author ascribed to it, so I can't really give credit apart from the fact that it's written by Harvard Business Review Press. Delegating is probably one of the most difficult things to get used to, and everyone struggles with it. For some people it takes them a long time to get used to delegating tasks, and there are so many concerns with it, and hopefully this book will be able to alleviate some of those issues. It's written in a different way. It's more of a linear step-by-step understanding of delegating and providing guidelines on it. I'll share what all the contents are, and then we'll begin with one of the sections. So this book is split into 6 different sections. The first one is why delegate? What is the purpose and the benefits of delegating? I think we all instinctively understand it. It's just addressing the concerns that is much more difficult. So firstly, why delegate? Number 2, building a foundation for effective delegation. That's getting an environment and culture set up. Number 3 is preparing to delegate. So determining what and what not to delegate, how much work to delegate, identifying skills, selecting the most suitable person, and ultimately also deciding what level of authority the junior is allowed to have. Number 4 is making the assignment, so discussing the work with your staff member, communicating with the team. Number 5 is monitoring the assignment. So how are we tracking the delegated task over time, and in the middle providing support. And also that section, the 5th section, monitoring the assignment, will include anticipating and addressing problems. And then the 6th section is reviewing the process, evaluating the delegated task. And interestingly, at the end, it also includes a small bit on teaching delegating skills to others. So that is the book. That is the contents of the book. I will skip the why delegating portion. I'll go straight into the second portion, which is building a foundation for effective delegation. I will quickly skim through the first bit on why delegating, just as setting up a background, and then we'll dive into the second portion. It starts off with a question. Do you find your growing responsibilities and workload outstripping your available time? The answer is yes. Everyone is feeling that. Are you spending much of your day completing tasks below your skill level and authority, such as providing project updates, compiling data on new clients, work that could be performed by others on your team? Do you lack the bandwidth for higher level pursuits, such as analyzing your department's short and long-term resource requirements, implementing a training program for new hires, or developing process improvements to speed order turnaround time? And ultimately they say that delegating is the solution to all of these. It speaks about the purpose of delegating. It's to transfer responsibility, and it speaks quickly about the benefits of delegating, which we all know. It is benefits to you, saving your time, saving your bandwidth, saving your workload. Benefits to your direct reports. It gives them the exposure and experience, and they sort of learn the ropes in developing these new skills. And benefits to the organization. Saves a lot of money, saves a lot of the organization's resources. And also, I'll add, In military terms, you talk of strategic depth of a military. A company also has that. There's strategic depth in, the human resources. So the greater the skills and experience the entire staff has, the greater the strategic depth of the company's military, if I can use those terms. To achieve these benefits, this is the final sentence in that first section. It says, to achieve these benefits, you must not only delegate, but do so effectively. This book shows you how. So let's get into the second portion, building a foundation for effective delegating. Are you spending more time doing and less time managing? If you always seem to have too much rudimentary work to do, or if you find yourself on the job nights and weekends trying to keep up with endless lower level administrative tasks, assigning some of your work to staff members could help you free up some time for other higher level activities, such as prepping for an important board meeting or policy development. And this doesn't have to be a strictly white collar thought process. It applies to whether you're a plumber or roofer and you want to delegate work to juniors. It could be if you are in the finance industry and you want to delegate people's accounts to someone lower. It could be if you are in the medical profession, and that can get a little bit tricky if you're trying to delegate certain tasks to your juniors. In any case, this will always be written as though it is a white collar management and executive sort of framework. If you are delegating, but you are regularly interrupted by direct reports who have questions about their assignments, or if you often need to intervene in delegated tasks or projects because of missed deadlines or budget overruns, or overrule staff decisions and personally redo poorly executed assignments, you could benefit by honing your delegation skills. Perhaps you've been directed to offload some of your work to a colleague you now must oversee, a scenario which requires well-tuned delegation skills and finesse. Finally, if your employees complain when you delegate work, if morale in your group seems low, or if turnover is high, it might be time to move from just delegating to delegating well. In this book, we'll walk you through fundamentals of choosing the right work to delegate, preparing to delegate thoughtfully, making the assignment crystal clear, and monitoring progress effectively. But throughout that process, you'll also want to address big picture needs, such as creating an environment that fosters productive delegation, establishing management practices that promote delegation, and banishing your own concerns and fears about delegating. At least for me, and I'm sure for many others, the fear of delegating is probably the biggest hindrance. You're worried that the person is going to mess things up, things that you've worked so hard on establishing, and then you're just going to have to clean up the mess after. It's just so much easier if I could just do it myself, just so much quicker, so I won't delegate, I'll just do it myself. Establish the right environment. Creating a workplace that encourages and supports delegating can help you gain cooperation from your staff. Here are some tips to help set that up right, especially as you make and communicate the assignment. So in making the assignment, it says, when you delegate work, you're more likely to rally enthusiasm and support from your staff if you consider the following as you balance these assignments. And the author, whoever that may be, lists out a number of points. I guess there's 7 or 8 in total. I will read them here. Delegate entire projects or functions when possible, not just portions, to help increase your employees' motivation and commitment. Interesting. Avoid assigning only tedious and difficult jobs. While it's sometimes necessary to share grunt work like database entry on larger projects, try to balance the less desirable jobs with tasks that captivate staff and might gain recognition for your employees, such as presenting the team at a trade show. So that example could be, is different for different industries. Third one, give your direct reports the resources needed to get the job done, and think in broad terms. Resources could be people, like additional staff or simply an introduction to someone they'll need to work with. Tools, such as software or training. Information or development opportunities. Anything that can help employees learn, resolve issues, and handle assignments on their own. So that's the third one. Give your direct reports the resources needed to get the job done. Fourthly, delegate to people whose judgment and competence you trust. Your ability to select the right person reflects your decision-making and goal-setting skills. Some of you may be seeing an issue with that. Don't worry, it'll be addressed later on in the sections following. Develop trust in less skilled staff members by delegating highly structured assignments to them, such as compiling production and delivery figures for your quarterly report. Again, doesn't apply to all industries. This is the last point they give, provide possible career advancements for staff members by delegating work that involves face time with your manager or with a high-level manager in another division. So, provide possible career advancement for them. The next portion deals with communicating the assignment. Open lines of communication set the foundation for an effective delegation culture. Try to incorporate the following tips into your delegating practice. And again, they list maybe 7 or 8 points here. First one, make certain that your staff knows what is expected of them and why the task is important to the unit and the organization. People are more motivated when they understand the reasons for doing things a certain way and when they recognize the importance of their work. Linking projects to larger initiatives also helps build a sense of shared responsibility for the unit's overall goals. For instance, you might explain to your employees that immediately updating the client database with revised order status information helps ensure that all members of the team have access to the latest figures and can respond accurately to client queries, thereby meeting your organization's targets for customer satisfaction ratings. The second point, articulate the goals, expected outcomes, and measures of success. Also, create clear guidelines for follow-up, monitoring, and feedback. Having detailed conversations about these issues up front minimizes wasted time and resources that ensures that the work will be completed successfully and allows you to hold your staff accountable. Thirdly, cultivate independent thinking by asking questions rather than dictating orders. Now, there is a skill to asking questions, especially if the questions are way too open-ended and are leading your junior level staff to go on wild goose chases trying to figure things out. The more technical and complicated the field, the more this can be a problem. So, with that in mind, cultivate independent thinking by asking questions rather than dictating orders. Encourage your people to come to you with problems, but groom them to also bring their own ideas, observations, and possible solutions. Open-ended questions What things might we consider if we implement the solution you're proposing? Help motivate employees to think and to reveal the degree to which they have thought about problems and assignments on their own. When they raise a problem with you, ask them what they've already tried to do to solve it, or what they've considered doing, along with the pros and cons of their proposed approaches. Urge your staff to share their interest as well as their availability for new projects. That is the fourth. The fifth, acknowledge that mistakes can be made, that delegating is a learning experience for you and your staff. Offer instructions or coaching as needed. Those were the points. Building a workforce open to delegation will also help make you a better delegator. Fostering the right culture for delegation with existing staff is important, but you can also contribute to that culture when hiring additional staff members. Look for applicants who not only are qualified for the specific job, but also are willing to grow, take on new tasks, learn from their assignments, strengthen their skills, and make informed decisions. Selecting people who are more than just their job description will allow your unit to make its best contribution to the organization overall. Be creative in your pursuit of ideal candidates. For example, ask vendors and customers who know your staff and your organization to recommend potential new hires. Giving yourself time and space to think also has an impact on the delegating culture you're creating. Continually ask the question, what next? Your unit can't deliver top performance without a clear picture of where it's going. So once you've envisioned your unit's future, share it with your team so that everyone is clear on and energized by your major goals and how you will achieve them. Take time to reflect on what's happening in the company and industry, explore new ideas, and get excited about the possibilities of the future. Block off thinking time on your calendar during periods when you're at your best. Perhaps first thing in the morning, or a specific afternoon each week, or as I like to do, when you're taking the dog for a walk or riding your bike, something like that. You have some time to think. And be sure to record, sort, and save your thoughts. Take advantage of a long commute to write down your ideas if you're on public transportation, which very few in America are, but some may be, or record them if you're driving. This reflection time isn't for preparing for meetings, drafting reports, or handling other day-to-day matters. It's open time to think and be creative. Building a workplace culture that embraces delegation is an important step, but you may still have uncertainties about your role. The next section takes a look at some common misgivings about delegation. It begins with addressing your concerns. Now, this is the real meat and potatoes of this portion. Everyone has concerns with delegating. So I'll read an introductory paragraph and then we'll go through several of the items that the authors have put together. Address your concerns. Despite the benefits to all involved, many managers still feel uneasy about delegating. For instance, you might fear that by assigning your work to others, you'll abdicate responsibility and lose control because you've relinquished day-to-day oversight. Or, pressed for time, you might elect to do a job yourself rather than teach someone how to do it. If this is your first leadership role, you may be reluctant to delegate the types of tasks that gave you your star power, such as mentoring junior employees. If you've been a leader for a while, you might shy away from delegating because you've had a bad experience with it. such as a staff member not taking responsibility for assignments or missed deadlines in the past. Gaining proficiency at delegating work can take time and experimentation, but over the long run, your fears should dissipate as you hone your skills and your staff gains confidence and expands its abilities. The proper mindset can help you overcome these common concerns. And what are these common concerns? I will read the titles for you and then read a short section about each. First concern: it's just easier to do it yourself. This is this is the one that I have an issue with. It is so much easier for me to do things than try and get others to do it, because I know what I need to do, I know how to do it, so I'll just do it. Save everyone the hassle. Number two, you're having a difficult time transitioning from a specialist to a generalist. The third concern: but everyone knows that you are the expert. So if you are the expert, why are you delegating it to someone else, right? If you are the expert plumber or roofer, why are you delegating tasks to someone? You're going to have to deal with a leak later. Next one, you lack confidence in your staff. That is a tricky one. The next one, you can't identify a staff member with the skills needed for a particular assignment. It sounds very similar to the previous point raised. My interpretation is that lacking confidence in staff is the manager's issue. It is a confidence issue. Whereas the second point, you can't identify a staff member with the skills, is a skills problem, which is a training problem. Maybe a hiring problem, maybe an onboarding problem, maybe it's just an experience problem. Next concern: you like things done your way. You have a system in place. You've worked on it for ages. You like it done this way, and now you're handing it over. And the new person is not going to do it. They have their own way, and that's not easy to see happen under your watch, because ultimately you're responsible for it. And second to lastly, you believe your staff will resent additional work. That's also a tricky one, if that's what your concern is. And lastly, the final concern is you know you could quickly complete a task an employee is struggling with, which is very similar to the first one. It's just easier if you do it. So let's go through each of those concerns. The first concern: it's just easier to do it yourself. The thought of organizing, explaining, and monitoring an assignment can feel like it will add hours to the job that you just don't have. Just do not have the time for this. But that is a short-sighted view. The comparatively brief amount of time you spend planning to delegate will likely be worth it, since over time your employees will be able to take on more responsibility for structuring and planning their own assignments. Say you groom a couple of junior employees to track regulatory changes that affect your industry. As their sense of ownership grows, your time will be freed up for other initiatives such as winning or attracting new clients. Second, you are having a difficult time transitioning from specialist to generalist. You loved your functional job. You excelled at it. That's why you were promoted. So when you think of delegating some of your work, you're reluctant to give up the very tasks for which you've become known and likely enjoy doing. However, you are not saying goodbye to your knowledge and experience. Those will be critical as you guide your staff members through their assignments. Take a new product introduction as an example. You might not be developing and executing the marketing plan, but you'll be leading your team as they brainstorm and start the launch process, guiding them around obstacles and giving them the benefit of your experience. Third, but everyone knows you're the expert. If your direct report surpasses your skill set and becomes the go-to person in your specialty area, what will happen to your reputation? Maybe you've taken great pride in developing your expertise in projecting the return on investment for new client services. Everyone knows you're the first person they should talk to when they have a great idea they're convinced will boost the bottom line. You may hesitate to pass that baton, especially when you're still developing competency in your new role. It's normal to feel competitive or uncertain while you're transitioning long-held and deeply valued knowledge. But developing your people will serve your organization by widening the pool of available experts. In this case, experts on evaluating client service revenues, and will help you grow into your role as their leader. Plus, and keep this in mind, when your direct report looks good, you look good. Next point, you lack confidence in your staff. Start by delegating small tasks and projects so you can gradually build confidence. Their confidence and also your own confidence. For example, you might ask a staff member to make arrangements for a client visit, reserve and set up the conference room, order lunch, organize a tour of the facility, and afterward publicly show your appreciation. So, again, these tasks will vary widely depending upon the industry that you are in, but the final point is what I really want to highlight. Afterward, publicly show your appreciation. Public appreciation, private appreciation helps confidence, but public appreciation really helps with company-wide confidence. The next point, you can't identify a staff member with the skills needed for a particular assignment. Train or coach an employee to develop the skills required, borrow a staff member from another group, hire a temporary worker, or explore dividing the assignments into tasks or subtasks that one of your employees could handle. I'm just thinking of my own company right now, and this can definitely be tricky and cause a lot of hassle in the company. Trying to borrow staff members from other or hiring a temporary worker, that's a company culture thing. And so if your company does not hire temporary workers for this sort of thing, then it's probably a no-go. I don't know when this was written. In fact, I can have a quick look. It says 2014. In this modern day, hiring temporary workers, it may be done by certain large firms, but some of the smaller firms, that's a ugly word, and it's a no-go zone. Anyway, continuing. For example, perhaps you need a financial analyst for end-of-the-year reports for your unit, and the finance department has some IT work your staff can perform. Make a trade. Again, this is targeted towards large corporations. It may not be applicable in your field. Next, you like things done your way. Focus your energy on communicating your preferences and quality standards rather than controlling how the tasks will actually be performed. For example, maybe you organize project files strictly by date, but your employee prefers to arrange them by topic. Your employee's approach may get the job done and demonstrate a different way to tackle the work. This point also gets into different people's personalities. So, understanding all the personalities that are at play definitely plays into this point. The next concern: you believe your staff will resent additional work. Don't just dump grunt work on your people. Manage their expectations with open discussions. Let them know they'll get opportunities to do new and interesting work. Tell them how projects will expand their capabilities and that you'll support them in making their own decisions. And then follow through. Don't give them only the idea of the carrot but no carrot, right? Don't lie to your staff. When you do have to assign a dull administrative task or a beastly project, such as organizing a cluttered image library, be upfront about it. Don't sugarcoat it. Just tell them what it is. Acknowledge that it's beneath your employees' abilities, but that it has to be done. Give the reasons why. Providing the larger context will lessen the sense of drudgery and motivate your people to complete the work without resentment. So, the final topic now, or the final concern now. You know you could quickly complete a task an employee is struggling with. When you see someone spinning his wheels trying to extract information from the company knowledge base, it can be hard not to jump in and just take over. But trust your staff members' ability to get the job done. Practice keeping silent. Give him a chance to muddle through and figure it out. Be available to provide support, but allow your employee a chance to learn. Interceding could cause frustration for you both and cost you the time you'd hoped to save. If you're too early to jump in and get involved, it's going to be frustrating to you because it's true, now you've had to jump in. And it's frustrating for the junior as well, because now they feel they can't get something done and the senior person is jumping in all the time. So it creates unnecessary frustration. With your concerns about delegating now in check, you're ready to prepare to delegate a project. The next section goes into preparing to delegate. Hopefully this short section has given you some time to think about some of the concerns with delegating work, and we'll get to the next section on my next bike ride. Thank you.